Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. My name is Roberto, and on this very first video we're gonna do a tutorial about how I edit eyes on headshots and portraits. So let's get started. Alright, so now we are in Photoshop. The first thing I'm gonna show you the before and after. So we have a folder here in the layer section called eyes, and it's turned off. So I'm just gonna turn it on so you see the after. This is the before, and this is the after. So it's a tiny subtle light on the eyes. If I open this folder here, you're gonna see three layers. You have socket, you have iris, and iris detail. And I'm gonna explain what these layers are. So before we actually apply the three layers on top of the eyes, I'd like to explain what do these three layers do. So the first one is socket. I'm just gonna paint with this and show you. So the socket is gonna affect the socket of the eye area and a little bit of the under eye. So it's gonna be something like that in this eye, and it's gonna be something like this in this other one. So this is the socket layer. The second layer is gonna be the iris. So this is gonna affect just the iris. So it's gonna be like this, and it's gonna be like that. And the third layer called iris detail, that's gonna affect just the detail of the iris. So this is a bit of a special layer that we're gonna affect just the highlights. So to bring a little bit more detail and color in the iris. As you can see, we'll do something like that. So these are the three layers: socket, iris, and iris detail. Okay, so now it's time to do it ourselves. We have opened the PSD file again, so it's a blank edit. We have the background layer of this actress, Alison Garner, and her beautiful blue eyes. On the background layer, the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna create a duplicate of the layer. So we're gonna Control J or Command J on Mac, and we're gonna have a duplicate of the layer, and we are gonna put this layer into a blending mode of screen, so we're gonna get brighter. Alright, so we apply a layer mask to this layer, and then we invert the layer mask, so everything's gonna disappear. Control I or Command I on Mac, and it's completely hidden at the moment because the layer is completely black. We're gonna rename this layer to socket because the first one is gonna apply to the socket area of the eye. Select, very important, select the layer mask, not the actual layer. Select the brush tool, so B, or just select it here on the menu. An opacity of 100 and a flow of 100, and we're gonna make the brush a little bit bigger, and just don't worry about it. This is gonna look weird, but just paint on the socket itself. Paint all the socket, and also paint a little bit on the under eye. It's gonna be really weird if you see it like this, but don't worry. Paint it like this, paint a bit on the under eye, and zoom out. So obviously this is very weird. We are gonna put an opacity of 20% on this layer. So as you can see, before and after, we just brighten up a tiny bit on the socket. Again, we're gonna apply a second layer, repeating the same operation. So Control J on the background layer, Command J on Mac. We're gonna set the blend mode on screen again. We are gonna do another layer mask, and we're gonna invert Control I or Command I on Mac, so it's gonna all disappear. And now we are gonna paint on the iris only. So with the brush tool again, 100% opacity and 100% flow. We're gonna decrease a little bit the brush size so we only affect on the iris, and we're just gonna paint here. Great, this is lighting. No, this is screen. There you go. I'm gonna paint like that. We're gonna paint here as well. And again, we are gonna, this is now like zombie eyes, something like that. You don't want this. So we're gonna decrease the opacity of this layer to 20%, depending on the color of the eyes of the person. We can go like from 15 to 25, yeah. But for Alison, I think we're gonna do a little bit less than this. So this is the iris layer. We're gonna rename it iris. There you go. You can see before and after, just a tiny bit. And the last step we're gonna do, we're gonna select the background again, repeat the process. So Command J, duplicate, and Command J on Mac. Put this layer at the top of the stack. Put a layer mask, Command I, Control I, invert. And this is a little bit different. This is just for the detail of the iris, so just to bring the highlights a little bit more detail. We select the brush tool with a very small brush. And again, 100% opacity, 100% flow. And we're just gonna paint. Sorry, forgot to say, we set up this as screen mode as before. Screen. So we're gonna paint some lines. We're painting blue in the eye. So yeah, we paint some lines like this. Don't worry about being very detailed because we're gonna do another step after. So just something like that. And then we go on the other eye. We do the details. Something like this, just following. Make sure you point towards the center of the eye. You don't go like that. Okay, so just point to the center like that. Maybe make some other lines on the actual beauty dish that we shot with and the grid we have here to bring a little bit more fun on the iris of the eye. And now what we're gonna do is apply a blur filter on the layer, so it's gonna be less detail. So we go filter, blur, and Gaussian blur, and we apply something around 9, something like this, 8 or 9. So this is the before, and as you can see, before and after, just a tiny more life in the eye. We're gonna rename this layer to iris detail. Detail. Do I know how to spell detail? Yes. Alright, so all the layers now are in place. I'm gonna select all of them, Shift and click Control G. That's the letter. And we create the group, we rename it eyes. And as you can see, the before and after is a little bit too much for my taste. So we're gonna just decrease the opacity of the layer to 60% maybe. You can see before and after. Let's zoom out a little bit. So this is the after, before, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with this. So 60% on the eyes layer, and this is it.
Yeah, this is the way we edit eyes for headshots and portraits in these 3 simple steps. There's obviously loads of ways to do this in Photoshop, but I think this is very easy and straightforward. So please leave a comment in the comment section below and don't forget to subscribe.